Have you noticed something strange happening with music lately? It doesn't matter what genre you listen to, classical music, sure, but film scores, pop, even short clips on social media. A lot of it doesn't sound bad. In fact, it often sounds very good.
But it all sounds familiar, sometimes too familiar.
There's a kind of strange predictability creeping in where you can listen to something new and feel like you've already heard it before. And that leads to a question I just keep coming back to. Why does it feel like we're losing the ability to be surprised by music? Not emotionally moved, music can still do that, but surprised, like something actually unexpected just happened.
Because those are not the same thing.
At first glance, this doesn't make sense because by almost every measurable standard, music is better than ever. Performers are more technically consistent, recordings are cleaner, editing tools are more advanced. You can access world-class performances instantly from a phone. There are also simply more musicians than before. One estimate from Spotify suggests that over 100,000 new tracks are uploaded every single day. That's an astonishing level of output. So if everything's improving, why does so much of it feel less distinctive? This is the paradox. We're producing more music with more skill and more access than ever before, but
Somehow, less individuality seems to survive the process.
to understand this, we need to start at the beginning because every musician begins the same way, by copying. You copy your teacher, you copy recordings, you copy the style that is considered correct. And this is not only normal, it's essential.
Pablo Picasso is often quoted as saying, "Good artists copy, great artists steal."
Whether he said it exactly like that or not, the idea captures something real. Imitation is the foundation of learning. In music, this is even more obvious. You cannot develop tone, phrasing, or style without first absorbing examples from others. So, imitation is not the problem. Imitation is the entry point. But at some point, something changes. Imitation stops being a tool and starts becoming a refuge because copying is safe. If you play like everyone else, you're unlikely to be criticized. If you stay close to the standard interpretation, you are unlikely to be questioned. If you follow the established model, you reduce the risk of failure in a visible way. And over time, something subtle happens. People begin optimizing not for expression, but for approval. This is where creativity starts to narrow.
Not because anyone tells you to be less original, but because being original carries less risk.
I remember when I was studying with the great cellist David Finkel, I once asked him a question when I was around 19. I asked, "How do I know when I've become a mature musician?" And his answer, in essence, was something I've never forgotten. First, you learn the instrument. Then you learn the music, its theory, its structure, its history. You learn what the composer might have intended. You build a foundation as completely as possible, but after that, it has to become your decision.
And that's the part where music stops being purely educational and starts becoming personal.
The difficulty today is that this decision phase is happening in a very different environment. Every performance can be recorded. Every interpretation can be compared instantly. Every idea can be measured against thousands of alternatives online. And in music education, there is often a strong emphasis on consistency and correctness, especially in competitive environments like conservatories and auditions and competitions. Orchestra auditions, for example, are famously competitive. In major orchestras, hundreds of highly trained musicians may audition for a single position, and the process is often decided within minutes of playing. In that kind of environment, it is completely rational to avoid unnecessary risks. But the long-term effect is subtle. The safer you try to be, the more similar everything becomes. And eventually you start to notice it. Different musicians, different ensembles, different recordings, but the same kind of phrasing, the same interpretive choices, the same sense of correctness. It's not that anything is wrong, it's that very little feels distinct. And this is where something important happens psychologically, because what audiences tend to remember is not perfection, it's personality. It's a moment where something could have gone another way, but didn't. As Leonard Bernstein once put it, a work of art does not answer questions, it provokes them. But if everything is already optimized to avoid provoking anything, then it becomes harder for music to stay memorable. This is not just a classical music problem. It's a broader cultural one. We now live in an environment where imitation is extremely efficient. Algorithms show us what performs well. Social media rewards familiarity. And now, artificial intelligence can already replicate musical styles with surprising accuracy. There was even a study from a streaming platform showing that listeners' attention drops significantly when music becomes too predictable. People tend to skip within the first 10 to 30 seconds if nothing stands out. In other words, we are surrounded by more music than ever before, but we are also under more pressure than ever to make it immediately recognizable and immediately acceptable. And those two forces don't always produce originality. So we arrive at a strange paradox. We're producing musicians who are more technically flawless than ever before, but technical excellence does not automatically produce individuality. In fact, when excellence becomes the only goal, it can sometimes flatten differences because it encourages convergence towards a single ideal sound, a single correct way of doing things. And the more that idea is reinforced, the more similar everything begins to feel. So, where does that leave us? I don't think the problem is that musicians lack talent. And I don't think the problem is that music itself is declining.
I think the real issue is that individuality is becoming harder to defend.
Because sounding different always comes with a cost. It means risking disagreement. It means risking criticism. It could mean stepping outside the safety of imitation. But without that risk, there is no real artistic integrity. There's no real identity. So I'll leave you with this question. Are we producing better musicians than ever before, or just more similar ones? And maybe more importantly, at what point do we stop trying to sound correct and start trying to sound like ourselves again?